Hi everyone, a very good morning. I hope you guys are actually having an amazing Saturday, enjoying your breakfast, with your friends and family. So welcome back to our second episode. So today, our second episode with SNRspeaks YouTube channel is definitely amazing, because we're talking about a topic that is definitely amazing because for the past 2 years itself, during the new norm, we have seen a lot of changes going on in our daily lifestyle, how we do things, especially working from office, from to actually working from home, right? And then like if you have like your brothers, your juniors, or even your siblings out there, right, who's actually picking up studying from home itself. So today is definitely amazing because topic for today at the episode 2 for SNR Speaks YouTube channel, it's about modeling the best pursuits of virtual teaching in the 21st century. So why are we wanted to actually talk about this topic? Like I mentioned earlier, we have seen a lot of changes, right? But we also talk about like the perspective of the students. But today we're going to unwrap, how is the perspective as an educator as well as a lecturer to actually understand better in terms of her experience of virtual teaching, in today's new norm. So who is Putri Sofia Amirnuddin? So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of understanding who is Putri Sofia, right before I actually invite her in. So Putri Sofia Aminuddin, she is currently the serving as a senior law lecturer and as well as the program director of Masters of Laws program, as well as the CIRI Chief Project Officer at Taylor's University. She also served as a visiting scholar at University of Reading, as well as University of Leeds in 2020. So, understanding her, she was also a friend of mine who I've, e-meet, because of the new norm. So we e-meet, we meet several times. We actually chat a lot as well, understanding her personality. She's a very youthful person and she empowers youth to actually thrive in her studies. This is quite evident because she is also one of the recipient of various awards as well as accolades from her innovative teaching method. So today is definitely a humble experience to actually have her on board and to actually understand better in how she, as a senior law lecturer itself, teaching law via virtual, right? So without further ado, let's invite Putri Sofia Aminuddin. So hello, how are you?
Hi, Sophia. It's actually my privilege to be on channel. So thank you so much for having me on Saturday morning.
Thank you very much for actually accepting actually because having a senior law lecturer, and I understand during this new norm, of course as a lecturer even the students are actually juggling, but we do ever consider even lecturers, the educator itself are also experiencing the challenge, from understanding and how to actually maneuver the syllabus itself from a physical teaching to an online learning. So probably before we kickstart with the question itself, maybe you want to share with the audience like more a little bit about yourself and what do you do for your, like in daily basis, Yeah, probably go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My name is Putri Sofia Amirnuddin. I'm a law lecturer at Taylor's University since 2014. And I've been teaching law actually using augmented reality back since 2017 because we have read articles, we have read social media, we have read newspapers that talks about artificial intelligence, that talks about we are currently living in a world of fourth industrial revolution. So the more I read, so it got me thinking, so how are we going to equip our current law students to prepare to embrace the fourth industrial revolution? Because it cannot be the same how I teach law in 2005 is the same as how students learn law today. It cannot be the same. How my grandfather learned law in 1960 cannot be the same today. So that's where I try to innovate my teaching strategies so that the
Mhm.
student nowadays would benefit from the teaching methods.
Wow, it's amazing because like today itself, right? When we talk about like I think you heard about PDPR, where it's more like the online, the virtual teaching itself from the teachers, right? But you've already started that since earlier, and I am myself as someone who really wanted to pursue law back then, right? Understand that it's not easy, right? But you already had that vision thinking of transitioning and having to have that your students prepare them very well of this new, not to say transition of a new, but it's already in progress actually. So probably my first question, Sophia, I call you Sophia, is that okay, right?
Yes,
I just
definitely. Sophia to
I just
Sophia.
when I go, no, we're not going to go head to head today. So, so my first question would be, maybe you can share your experience in terms of the virtual teaching, because I know just now you mentioned, right, you have been teaching law for the past, I think, about 6-7 years, fairly, right? Yeah. So maybe you want to share your experience of like how is the transition of that syllabus process, your methods as well as your activities in the virtual teaching itself to engage with your students. Yeah.
Okay, but first, just now you mentioned about visionary thinking. I have to
Yeah.
admit it wasn't me. It was actually Taylor's University itself, one of its
Woohoo!
mission back in 2014 to equip students with the future skills. And
All right.
that's the mission of Taylor's University, to incorporate blended learning. So to be honest, when I first recorded my session for the blended learning week, where teaching and learning take place online, I struggled. So that's how I know the feelings and the situation that the school teachers are going through when they have suddenly need to change from the conventional method to online, because I've experienced that back in 2014. I wore a headset, I had a laptop, and I recorded in a classroom. And for 30-minute lecture, I had to spend 3 hours of recording, because
Mm.
you feel nervous, right? Speaking in front of
Yeah.
the camera. And then I don't know if I should look at my screen or if I should look at the camera. And then suddenly my colleague uh, saw me recording in the classroom and suddenly opened the door and asked, Sophia, what are you doing? And I'm like, you just disrupted my recording. And back then, I have no idea how to do editing. So it involves a lot of trial and error. It involves a lot of experience. So I really actually applaud all school teachers for trying, because I know it's not easy, especially when you have to suddenly switch in a very sudden manner, and they did it. So they should give a pat on their shoulder because they deserve it. So when we talk about virtual teaching itself, essentially it's not a traditional method where we just provide one-way lecturing. We also assess students' participation. We gauge their eye contact and understanding, because as a lecturer, you can tell when students are focusing, you can tell when student is
Yeah.
distracted looking at their phone. So as a
Yeah.
lecturer, we are mindful of all of this. So we take note and we constantly re-strategize our teaching for every classes as well as for every semester. So no one class is the same with other classes.
All right. So that means when you say like no other classes, it's the same as other classes. That means how do you differentiate that? I mean, in terms of the activities or in terms of like the what kind of engagement is different from one another? Yeah.
Okay, so because most university we have lectures, we also have tutorials. So during
All
lectures,
right.
that's when we have all students in one Zoom platform. But during tutorial session, we'll break that number of students from 100 to few tutorial groups. So this is where we can provide personalized interaction with students. This is where lecturers can carefully monitor students' performance and comprehension. So in each tutorial group,
Mm.
I've embedded a concept of gamification to test students' understanding for the topics that's covered. So I'll gauge their performance in class, and from each tutorial session, I can tell this group consists of 10 students who are well versed with a particular topic, but got a certain amount of students who are weak, which I need to give a personal attention. Whereas as compared to this
All right.
particular group, they requires more engaging activities, because otherwise it will be dead silent in the classroom. In this tutorial group, multiple students that like to speak at the same time. So I need to control that to ensure that everyone have equal opportunity to participate. So that's why I mentioned no one classroom is the same with the other classroom.
Yeah, exactly. Because every different classes has different types of students, right, and different focus of attention altogether. Um, Interestingly, when we talk about virtual teaching, of course, when you mentioned as well as Taylor's has been doing a lot of like blended learning itself, even if I get it correctly, even before the new norm started, right? So, but ever you foresee having to teach online as 110% from now, because right now, of course, we would like to actually go back to that blended learning itself, right? And even right now, when we do events, we can do hybrid, where it can still be done online, but you can have your speakers to come at your space to still record or have that conduct sessions live, right? So, have you ever foresee teaching online for goods, like even now and moving forward itself? Yeah.
To be honest with you, yes. Because as a program director for Master of Laws, one of my tasks before the pandemic is that to personally deliver my Master of Law student dissertation to the examiners
Right.
public university. So it's like a treasure, you know. I have to personally carry it, drive it, and then hand deliver it to the professors. So every time
Right.
with all these professors, I always engage with the conversation just to get to know their area of research, what are their thoughts on current issues. So that's when these two professors from International Islamic University, UIA, they are all
You are yeah.
they're the one who mentioned to me. They said, Sophia, I think we have a vision for UIA to embrace online learning. They are mindful that Taylor's already embarked on online learning since 2012 when we encountered with SARS back then. So they
Oh,
suggested that I co-write a paper with them with regards
all
to
right.
transforming legal education altogether to convert from
Oh,
what from to convert on how we deliver legal education from the moment
all
of
right.
student enrollment, student registration, orientation, classes, exam to be online. So these are the
Wow.
conversation that I had with Professor Ashgar Ali, together with Dr. Muhammad Hassan, based in the law faculty. And I said, okay. So we presented a paper at a conference, international conference on future of law and legal practice. So we talk about transforming legal education, but we received mixed responses. Not all academics agree to
Yeah.
convert the legal education to 100% online. Not all students
Correct.
like the idea, and that was in
Mhm.
November 2019. And then after
Okay.
that, 2020 March, we hit with the COVID-19
The
pandemic.
lockdown.
So suddenly,
Yeah.
everything had to be converted online. So that's where our research paper became valuable. So for us, it's
Oh,
like a sharing session. What we write is for other educators to read and implement at their institution. So it's for the benefit of tourists as well as all students.
wow, amazing, amazing, amazing. Wow, because when you mentioned about like how you actually got that response, like fairly like 50-50, who is agreeing and who is also disagreeing, right? Who would have thought like the decision has to be mandatory because of the situation itself, right? At first, people, oh, macam, oh, it's okay lah. I mean, we can still do it physically, right? It's still feasible, but now it seems to not to say it's not feasible in moving forward. It still can be done, but because the situation is actually pulling off, it needs to be done via online with no physical touch at all. And it's amazing that you actually came up with how, as an expert leader in that legal education itself, right, and having to have that dissemination of paper to enroll it out not just to the private universities but also to the means of all educators around Malaysia, right? That one, it's applicable to across 14 states. Am I right?
Yes, correct. Because I believe in the concept of educators educating educators. Because I help you and you help us, so it's a win-win
Yeah.
situation for all of us.
Perfect. Amazing. Amazing. So how is that progress going on so far right now? Is it rolled out 100%, or yeah? How is it?
So because the pandemic is currently hitting us, the situation is not abating anytime soon. So most higher education institutions are still deliver teaching and learning online. So there is a demand in terms of proper skills to deliver online, to learn online. And in the future, there have been talks that universities would like to incorporate a hybrid concept. So it will be half-half. So in terms of how they do it, it depends on the university vision and their own specific strategies. But for Taylor's Law School, I have good news for Master of Laws program. Not only we have the conventional method to cater to students who long to go back to campus, right? But we'll be launching our
Yep.
online distance learning, which is 100% online for anyone to pursue Master of Laws wherever they are without coming to campus. So this is one of the
Oh,
strategies we have taken to accommodate to all type of students from around the world.
wow, amazing. So we call it in short form, it will be ODL, right? Online distance learning.
Yes, that's right.
Cool. Or amazing, amazing how because I always had this one skeptical mindset saying that law is actually a very, well, not to say if you studied comms or you studied journalism, it's not like a heavy weightage altogether, but law has its own nature of very factual base of case studies, right? And it has its own personified way of understanding the jargon, the terms itself. So I was just trying to actually understand how online learning law itself would be feasible. So probably you want to share like one of the engagement activities done with your students to actually engage them via online when as a law lecturer as well as the program director in Taylor's universities. Yeah.
So when we talk about learning law, most university will incorporate a Socrative method. So this is where lectures will deliver, student will take notes and then try to engage in a discourse and then sit down for the exam and provide analysis on these subjects that they have learned. But because of this revolution, right, in terms of technology that changes every single day, there are issues that
Yeah.
talking about digital disruption, digital transformation, new marketplace. So the problem is
Yeah.
whether there are sufficient laws to regulate all these changes, whether the law is rapid
Mm,
enough to understand what is happening around the world with regards to new technology, and whether lawyers and students will be able to comprehend on the use of technology as well as the technical terms. So that's when I thought if we are rigid in our thinking that learning law we must read cases, learning law we must learn through case study, read judgment or read legislation. If we're not open, we're going to face challenges in understanding the changes in terms of the
yeah.
technology around us. So that's
Yeah.
why I encourage lecturers to keep innovating, because in times such as now, we need to prepare students to like a paradigm shift, to change their mindset that when we learn
Yeah.
law, it's no longer about memorizing. So we need to alter that perception to become much more receptive and accommodative to new type of learning. And subsequently, when they embark on the future world of work, whenever there are sudden changes, they are ready. Their mindset is very
Yeah.
adaptive. So they know how to re-strategize how they work. They know how to re-strategize their thinking. So it's for the benefit of students. So that's why I introduced augmented reality to familiarize students with
Mm,
the use of new technology. I introduced
right.
gamification to encourage healthy competition among students. I also introduced neuro-linguistic programming so that students will be able to read people behavior when they talk to people, right? How they know that
Yeah.
they're able to sustain or capture the interest of the audience or clients or judges
Mm.
or lawyers. So that's how I train students on campus as well as virtually.
Wow. It's definitely amazing because knowing, of course, as a program director, you held responsible to actually ensure that every student under your discourse of the field itself, right? It's ever ready to not just be resilient for today's world, but as well as they step out, to actually go and practice law for goods at their end, right? And when you actually mention about online distance learning as well, you're not just ready to ensure that the students who, when you've not met physically, right, but via virtual also, they are also able to actually have that personification and that mindset to be resilient, that the preparation of work and changes, it's just so rapid, right? Because we will never know what's next. We can only assume based on like the theories and based on like researchers, readings and whatnot. But what's next, we will never know because it's very uncertain. But how we can actually be prepared for that is the way the mindset being nurtured altogether. And kudos to your Taylor's University and as well as yourself as the program director to actually have that forward thinking. Yeah, I mean, I want to know because under your belt, you're also the program director. You're also the senior law lecturer. What boosts you like. This is quite a very personal question itself. How do you keep yourself motivated every morning? Having to switch hats in between. And I'm sure students are very you are very students. Students like you because I saw all the videos like your students who helped that. Thank you to you itself. That's a very amazing and it's actually a pet small for yourself. So probably you want to share like what motivates you, every morning to help on these responsibilities? Yeah, probably you can share a thing too.
I like this answer because this is my honest answer. It's my student. Because when I switch on the Zoom, right, and then there's waiting room,
Yeah.
half an hour before my class starts, the students are already there. So because they're motivated
Oh,
to join the class early, so they inspired me to make sure that I join my class early. So because I like to open my laptop at 7 o'clock in the morning and then just do all the settings and then start getting ready for the online class. And then at 7:30 when I click launch meeting, and then it opened the waiting room. You can see my students are already there at 7:30 a.m. So I'm like, wow, they are really serious in learning, and I feel really touched with their dedicated, their determination. So that what motivates me to give my 100% to my students in each semester because they never fail to impress me.
amazing. Of course, I personally think it's a two-way communication as well. Well, the English say it takes two to tango, right? If it's not you who's actually setting that determination, your students wouldn't have be responded towards that level of determination as well, right? So when you give, you also take, but when you take, you also been given something, right? And it's definitely amazing because right now whenever you're actually at home, when you are actually you don't see people, right? You see people online. So what sort of like fulfilling moment that would end your day? Because when we start our day, we feel like, oh, today is a better day. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be better than yesterday. It could be more or less. It's fine. But how am I gonna end the day? It matters the most. So when you have a series, or let's say like in a day you have like 2 3 classes, right? So this sort of like determination pulls a lot of talking, a lot of like influencing your students as well, right? So what ends the day, it also brings value. So it's definitely amazing when you mention that your students, when you wake up in the morning, right, you already know like, oh, you know what, if yesterday my students is already waiting for me as early as half an hour before the class starts, so today probably I could have the same, yeah, yeah. So it's definitely a great experience altogether. Yeah, maybe you can also share a thing or two. Like, I recently spoke to one of my juniors as well. We had a chat, understanding that, of course, online distance learning and also PDPR, having to actually keep up with the online learning from home. She's currently taking ACCA, and she's having this some sort of like challenge altogether, because she didn't see her friends. She has been studying from the registration part itself until now, securing the journey of SCCA. It has been online altogether. And she told me that, Sophia, I feel that I have FOMO and a fear of missing out like the greatest moment in my life, which is a study life, right? And well, the least I could tell her is that, you're not alone. We are all in this situation together. But how, on your end as well as a lecturer, could give a little thing or two advice, or probably your sharing, to ensure that the students of today don't feel like they fear of missing out their greatest moment in their life, which is the study time. So maybe you can share from that educator perspective.
That's very actually insightful perception, because it is true that students fear losing out of touch with their friends, even as lecturers amongst the academics, because we don't see our colleagues anymore. We feel a sense
Yeah.
of loneliness in what we do, and our managers at Taylor's University, they are very trusting. So they give us our space to do our own work, to the extent I feel like, oh, I miss having my boss telling me to do. It's like I feel I'm on my own. So to
Yeah.
ensure that our students actually thrive in their learning, especially in times of pandemic. So what I encourage other educators to do is that encourage group discussion without lectures being there. So one example is try to break the classroom using the Zoom breakout room or Teams breakout room, and let students talk among themselves. When they supposed to discuss about the particular topic that the lecturer assigned, they never discuss. They will catch up with their friends. Actually, it's a platform for them to get together and not doing the work. So I purposely do that for my
Mm.
classes, and I'll let everyone have like 15-minute session, purposely discussing about the topic, but actually it provides them an avenue just to get to know uh, with their friends, especially for the semester one
Mm.
student, because they've never met each other, right? So they like
Yeah.
having
True.
that
Yep.
personal connection with their classmates. So another alternative that I did is I incorporated a speed dating session. So I utilize this
Ah, amazing.
platform called We Run the World platform. So there's this one icon which says networking activities. So as a host, I can organize a networking or speed dating activity where participants will be able to speed network for with other people 5 minutes per person. So they
Mhm.
have to quickly catch up, and then before ting, then they suddenly the system will change another participant. So they like it because it provides some element of human touch among student and student. So they can talk about whatever they want, they can vent out about whatever things they want to either people that know or to the other people that they don't know. So after the session, they feel
Wow.
really afresh. They really enjoy coming to class, and they feel re-energized to start learning again. So I think these are the two strategies that lecturers and students can adopt.
Oh, it's definitely, when I hear all these sharing moments from your end, right, Sophia? It gives me some sort of fulfilling, because I myself foreseeing myself, going back to studies one day. I would love to actually secure myself with some sort of like a higher education, tertiary back, because I only have, um, I have the fear of, like, not fear, but I feel like maybe it's not the right time because the pandemic, and because like it's not, I don't some sort of like believe like in full online education purpose. I mean, because I've never been there, right? And I fear of like, is this gonna work out for me? Am I like a very online learning person? But listening to how you actually share, in terms of your methods in virtual teaching itself for today's, and you're not doing that because of the environment of today. The environment of today's new norm is just pushing you even forward. But you already did that before the new norm even started, right? So I have a question, just to understand better in terms of how your virtual teaching methods. Do you do research? Like you mentioned, also you try and error, but do you progress as time goes by? Are you gonna like keep on having new things in virtual teaching itself, new engagement with your students? Take them and do you receive feedback from them, and how is it going so far?
Yes, we receive feedback every semester. So whatever student like, whatever student don't like, they will share in the teaching survey. It's like our report card. So that's what encourage
Mm,
to keep innovating every semester. Because I'll make sure every semester, which is every 4 months, there'll be something new that I introduce to students. Not necessarily a new platform, probably a new strategy, although it's the same platform. So
right.
it depends on student feedback
Mm,
as well. Because to me, I enjoy reading about new innovation. I enjoy trying.
mhm.
And sometimes I do feel I receive a lot of criticism from students, but it drives me to do better. Because if I can fail and then do better, so then I can provide the shortcut to other lecturers to try. Then they can skip the failing part. So that's how I approach things.
Wow. Wow. So fair. Knowing you, you're definitely a person who is also an altruistic person where you are willing to actually take that extra mile to undergo that failure so that others don't go through that process. Having to also understand that you are the program director and a chief project officer from CIRI, right? It takes a lot of advantages altogether because you become like the one-stop center for the other educators from Taylor's University itself. To just go and come and see you and say like, you know what, this is what I already have in the market for Taylor's educators itself. But in the future, for moving forward, right, would you be open to like share these methods of virtual teaching to more and open? I know you already did that in the research papers and whatnot, right? But I think for now, previously, because to be honest, at SNRspeaks YouTube channel, we talk about the unconditional conversations altogether. So we don't have any filterings of what we're gonna say, but as long as we ensure that there is a sensitivity over there. So because me coming from the public universities, there's a lot more loopholes in terms of how educators takes on these strategies to ensure students wants to come to classes. Because back then when I was still studying, I have I think about 15 hours of 18 hours. So there's like only you can I can see like how my classmates feeling like no, I don't want to come to class. They're taking for granted because who would have known, right? We're gonna go online today, right? But they felt like the teaching methods are just not there. Not too sure whether they don't feel motivated or determined. But for me, I could probably say because they don't feel like they want to be there at the first place. But if lecturers could be more understanding, more forward thinking of like, I'm here to actually teach you, but I'm also here to ensure that you learn the very best that you can because this is a physical class. Definitely, physical has more, perspective in terms of like you can teach even more because you're there, you can see, right? If you're on screen, you can't even see like you have a lot of screens going on. You can't even penetrate one another. But there's a different strategy altogether for the online. But for physical itself, so probably in the future, my question to you: would you be open to probably have that one-stop center, not just for what you have right now, but for any educators from different fields, industries, as well as the private or public, come to you and ask you like, is there any way we can solve this? Yeah, would you be open for the opportunity?
Okay. So speaking about this area, right? Because
Yeah.
the way that you share about what I do, I feel inspired with the words that you use to describe my teaching pedagogy, to describe myself. But to me personally, I feel very small. I feel the things that I know is not that much. It's like this much,
Mm-hmm.
but in the real world, there are so many things to learn which I have yet to discover. So I received
Yeah.
a lot of requests from academics around the world, public and
Yeah.
private on LinkedIn. to share tips, to conduct workshop, which I'm willing to do because to me, when I speak to them via Zoom, that's when I realize I actually learn something new from them. They would like to learn about teaching pedagogies from me, whereas I'm lacking in terms of some research areas or research techniques which they can teach me. So I enjoy teaching other people because through our conversation, there's always something new that I learn because of they are from different discipline. Then that's when I realize there can be an interdisciplinary research between that university and Taylor's University, between that field and law. So I would not restrict myself from, keeping what I know to myself or to the staff at Taylor's University. I'm more than happy to share whatever that I know to whoever wants to learn, as long as they are optimistic, as long as they are willing to learn by themselves, then just take all the knowledge that I know.
Thank you very much for actually answering that, because knowing you, you are also people oriented. If I've known you personally as well, right? And when it comes to sharing, it doesn't stops anywhere, because it's life is a process of learning more things as we grow wiser, right, day by day. And it's definitely very interesting from my end as well. Who I've never been a lecturer, I've never been an educator, but I've always been a student who likes to understand, like, I've been into that physical environment era, right? But understanding that, to have that resilient mindset, that it could be done via this education that I'm going to pursue, especially, like, let's say if in the future I would like to take communication, right? So that nurturing communication via online is, this is the strategy and how it's going to work. But in terms of the skeleton, the strategy of going to transition from offline teaching to online teaching, irregardless of what industry, irregardless of what field itself, right? Because when we talk about modeling the best practices in pursuit of 21st century in virtual teaching, it's also a recipe, because we have been living in the era of, like, physical teaching, then slowly we pivot to, like, blended learning, then interactive learning as well, right? And then now it's full online. We have to sum that everything up into online, right? But when time gets better, we want to go. Do you want to go back to that physical teaching, or are you gonna move forward to, like, no, physical teaching is an option. Online is the 70% ready to go. But do you think, in the moving forward, if, let's say, in the future, I hope that all of us can go back to our normal practice, but of course there will be changes, right? So do you think physical teaching would be an option, or it would be like that's the way we're going to go back to? Yeah.
Because we are currently now living in a new norm. So I think moving forward, there will be a combination of teaching physically as well as online. Because online, we would like to attract international students, or like, for example, Taylor's University is based in Selangor. We can also attract students from Sabah and Sarawak without them trying to fly into campus due to the reason of expenses, but they still can enjoy teaching and learning and meet with their classmates, although in a virtual platform. So I think the future is there, but there will be hiccups in the stage of the implementation of this hybrid concept of learning, because we still need to invest in technology, we still need to invest
Yeah.
in manpower and other resources. So this would require understanding and support from the entire stakeholders in the teaching and learning ecosystem, from Ministry of Higher Education, from the higher education institution, from the lecturers,
Yeah.
from parents, from students. So everyone would need to support each other.
Yeah. Agreed. Definitely, it's undeniable, because this whole transition, it affects everyone. So we need a collective support from, like you mentioned, stakeholders itself to actually brace this through, because we're talking about the students' future, and we're giving them the some sort of, like, recognition, and we're talking about not just just a piece of paper. it means a lot to them, And of course, in Taylor's universities as well, you have different backgrounds of students, coming from different regions, coming from the whole world, exploring what Taylor's have to offer. So I just want to understand better in your, let's say, like you have different classes teaching altogether, right, and different syllabus, different semesters. So do you came across any students who's facing challenges not having equipments or support from their end to actually undergo this online learning? Yeah.
So with regards to the challenges, it's actually not only faced by the school teachers and then the secondary or primary school students. We also have tertiary
Mhm.
students that experience problem mostly with the internet connectivity because they can
Common
access.
enemy.
Correct. Because most of the students they have their own personal gadget from laptop to mobile phones, so they can access class through their mobile phone. But what we forget is that students they don't have a line subscription. They are
Yeah.
based on a prepaid subscription. So when they attend
Mhm.
online classes, they will run out of data very quickly. So higher education institution also we are mindful about the situation. So that's why we don't force students to switch on their camera because we do not want students to run out with data. We also try to provide students with solutions if they can go to certain location. If not during MCO, they can go public library or any places
Yeah.
that offer free Wi-Fi so that they can have a much more seamless learning experience. So
Yeah.
this is something that students still struggle. Lecturers
Yep.
also struggle. Some lecturers
Yep.
stay in home, got problem with internet connectivity. But this is something requires more support beyond the higher education institution because Taylor's University cannot help with the 4G, cannot help with the internet
Yes.
line. So we requires the internet service providers as well as the government to provide support.
Mhm. Amazing. Yep, it's true. I could not agree more with that. Because experiencing when we talk about your institution as well, um, not only your institution is actually facing this common enemy problem, right? We are all, the whole world actually been talking about Malaysia perspective. Even from my end, working from home, I also juggle a lot with like internet connection. Sometimes I had to skip meetings purposely because of having to save that data at the first moment of transitioning working from office to home. And whenever I have events, I actually have to go back office to just ensure that we don't battle with the internet issue. Even though you feel like no, I'm gonna be seeing my friends. I'm gonna be. Who would have thought like I would be in close contact? There's a lot of paranoia, funny moments going on. Like whoo. But yeah, when we talk about when you mention like students when as a lecturer you encourage your students uh, in the situation where right now it's MCO, you can't go out, right? So even students as well has to find their own initiative to actually be part of that learning. But do you ever came across of like mental health, like all this stress going on between the two parties, and how students and lecturers come in between to actually solve that issue as well, not getting burnt out, and ensure that both party would have a fulfilling moment of that online studies and of virtual teaching. So probably you can share a thing or two.
Okay. I believe not only Taylor's University that takes mental health among the students very seriously, but all
Yeah.
universities, either public or private university. So what higher
Mhm.
education institutions do is that we do encourage students to consult the lecturers that they are comfortable with for a consultation session
Right.
just to seek support either in terms of the extension of the deadline of the assignment submission or uh, consultation for additional hour to clarify what was taught. This is to alleviate the issues that the students face. Usually the challenges that in their mind, right, they are struggling. But if they speak up, there are solutions that can assist the students. At Taylor's Law School, the program director and head of school will meet up with the entire student on that program every 2 weeks.
All right.
So that whatever students want to
Oh,
vent out, you vent out, then the head of school will prepare action plan to ensure that we resolve all these issues in the following week. So it's very fast. So every time got problem, we solve it.
all
So
right.
it's a firefighting issue in that sense. And most higher education
Wow.
institution, we have a counseling center. It's free of charge. It's open 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So students can
All right.
get in touch with the counselor or via Zoom as well, just to seek support from the counselor. So these are the
All
opportunities
right.
we provide to address the issues pertaining to the mental health.
Mm. Yeah, because right now, well, of course, mental health issue is it's a mass issue. Previously, it's not a common topic that most people want to talk about. But as the situation gets really some sort of like uncertain, it's just getting tough. I could say that in a very positive mannerism. Everyone is talking about mental health and how it because you see like I'm sure when I believe your students are actually back home or either maybe they are still around in the institutions area, they are far away from the family as well, right? Having not to see their family members, having not to have the affection of having the love, people they love surrounding them, it gives that environment a different momentum altogether. So maybe if you don't mind sharing as well, right? As a program director, you hold a lot of like hats, right? But how do you like say if there? I'm sure probably like did ever students like personally came up to you and of course you had that 2 week session, but personally because not everyone wants to say it out loud online, right? Because they felt like much embarrassed, like Asian culture, we feel like nah, if I say something, people would know that it comes from me. So probably maybe you can share like maybe students did came to you personally and seek for your personal advice because they feel comfortable with you. So maybe you want to share just the tip of iceberg, like yeah. I mean, did you ever came across that situation as well? Yeah, and then how do
Yes,
you overcome that? Yeah.
it's quite often as well. Students will get in touch with me via email seeking for consultation. Some share that they
Mm-hmm.
are concerned about their career path, even though they're in year two. They say they don't know what they want to
Yeah.
be after they have graduated. So then
Mm-hmm.
I'll get the students to explain of their interests. I look through students' resume and then just try to uh, narrow down students' area of research until the student is satisfied with his own decision. So sometimes it consists multiple rounds of consultation because students they like
Yeah.
to seek clarification many times until they understand. So
Yes.
we do also provide that services that tailors. Some students share their English is not so good, so they don't know how to make friends
Yep.
in online setting. When they read question, they don't understand. So as a lecturer,
Mm.
although we want students to able to attempt the question, analyze, they're actually very smart. It's just that we need to explain what the question entails, and then they can do the research and then eventually come up
Mm.
with the analysis. So we just need to
All
provide them
right.
with a little bit of push, and then after
Push.
that,
Yeah.
they can be independent and they can actually do the work. So I always have faith in my student. It's just that when
Mm-hmm.
they come requesting for help, as an
Yep.
educators, we have that responsibility to help students.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for actually answering that, Sophia. I know it's very personal, having that soft spot. Of course, as a lecturer, you teach, right? You are there 99% to actually ensure that your students will be able to secure a quality education. But of course, that 1% is having that empathy to show them that you care about them, not just because of the studies, right? Not just because of education, but because they are normal human beings. They have the rights to actually feel whatever they're currently feeling. And it's fine because we go through burnout session, we go through multiples of sadness, especially students itself. I feel very empathy, to compassion feeling towards my junior these days. Having to understand that most of them are actually coming from not a well-off being family, and they are actually very afraid that they could not deliver quality education, and having to understand that, of course, not coming from the well-being family, they only have that sort of like minimal resources to pursue their tertiary education, and most of them are actually on students loan, and they felt like, nah, I should just drop my student loan and go working, because that would be more convenient for now, right? um, um, so yeah, I mean, talking in terms of that student's perspective as well, um, understanding that not coming from well-off being family, right, and having that minimal resources as well. So probably you want to share, in future, as a lecturer and as well as the program director of the Taylor's University of the Law faculty, right? What are your advice? Because we're down to like less than 10 minutes. Maybe your key takeaways to students out there who is trying to pivot by dropping or probably put a pause to their education at the moment, and probably pursue on taking part-time job or even gig economy jobs, right? To ensure that they have sustainability living, and when the time gets better, probably they can resume or probably resume working because the money is there, right? Because when you study, you don't have money, right? You can do part time and whatnot, but I think millennials these days, their mindset is different in different way altogether. When you already have the intact with money, you have already have like the resources or money coming in. You don't want to go back study because you don't feel like it's just needful. But in order for you to progress in your career ladder, you need the education paper, right? So probably your key takeaways as an education level of understanding. So probably you want to share with the students out there who is trying to pivot in certain way. Yeah.
I share similar sentiments as you with regards to the importance of having education, even though in times of this pandemic, because all education institutions actually have experienced a drop in student numbers in March 2020 when
Yeah.
we first encounter with this pandemic. So when we see the student
Yeah.
number drop, so to me, my concern is that first, it's a pandemic. Secondly, we are against a war which this invisible disease which you can see, and we don't know
Mm.
when this is going to end. So if you drop and then you want to continue later, we don't know when is this later. So due to this uncertainty, so I always encourage students to have a consultation lecture session with the lecturers so that we can guide and empower students not to drop, especially when they already have received monetary support either from PTPTN loan or from scholarship,
Mhm.
just to be resilient, just like you mentioned, just to remain
Yeah.
calm and just persevere in times of this pandemic. Because I know the sound of money is enticeful that you can work and you can continue studying later on. But most
Yeah.
circumstances that I have encountered, those students who drop and work, it's there's a limited number of percentage that the student resume back to studies. First, because they realize when they join back university, they are much older than the rest of the classmates. So they feel discouraged because they are much more
Yeah.
mature. And then secondly, when you have that taste of money, right, it's very difficult to let go of that financial independence. So then that's where
Mm.
you have these difficulties to balance between these two. My advice for students in times of this current pandemic, if you are enrolled in a university, just continue because you're not the only one that are facing these challenges. All of us are in
Yeah.
it together. You can meet up new
Mhm.
friends. New friends can share the same challenges, and it can also share how they rise over these issues that face amongst the
Mhm.
students. So as you listen to more stories, that's when you feel it's not too bad. Online learning is doable. So you
Yeah.
definitely can thrive in this new norm.
Amazing, Sophia. It is definitely personally humble and honored to actually have you sharing all this strategies, modeling what we reflects back to the topic for today, modeling the best practices of 21st century virtual teaching, talking in the perspective of as a lecturer, as an educator, as a program director as well, and me holding the personifier of students' understanding. Of course, when you mention, especially these days, right? I would love to actually share more in things of like how these students feeling, burnt out, coming not from a well-off being family. Of course, having to have the support from the PTPT and loan students scholarship as well. It gives them the booster, but what really means a lot to them is actually the human push. And you, when you mention about you open up that channel where students can come and be open to you, having to share like Miss Sophia, I'm having this is predicaments, right? And I feel like this is not up for me at the moment, but he is a smart person, he is a smart student. So you having that switch of heads, it's definitely amazing and honored to actually have you today sharing about this topic. And I hope whoever wants to be connected with you can get connected via LinkedIn, right? Probably you want to share in the future, how can they also be connected with you via LinkedIn?
Yes, definitely. So you can search for me, Puteri Sofia, Puterisofia on LinkedIn, and I'll be more than welcome to accept any connection requests.
Amazing, amazing. Yes, for those of you guys actually watching this, right, if you guys have any questions through Sophia itself, if you're a student or even the lecturers out there, wanting to actually build bridges between one another, talking about the strategies, talking about how you can actually excel further in this new norm, and getting to know her sophistication methods in modeling the best practices in pursuit of 21st century virtual teaching, you can actually be connected with her via LinkedIn as well. So, Putri Sofia, thank you very much for coming on board with me today on a lovely Saturday, actually. And you look amazing out there. And I wish you all the best in terms of like striving better in terms of the students' future as well, right? And I hope to speak to you very soon. And I'll catch up with you and have a lovely Saturday, Putri Sofia. All right.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, guys.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. And hey guys, if you guys don't forget to actually like, subscribe, and comment to this SNRspeaks YouTube channel. So if you guys want to be connected with me, just drop me an email at natasharosali@gmail.com. And I hope to my Muslim friends out there, Salam Zulhijjah, and please take care of yourself. And don't forget to stay safe and be resilient, and also be vigilant out there if you guys have to go out. So please take care. Assalamualaikum and have a great weekend, guys. Bye.